Hi, everyone. I'm answering Elkless tag on shunning and being shunned. I almost didn't do this because my history with being shunned is so strange that I'm sure that there are many who are not going to believe it. But I decided it was my story, and I know it's true, and if you choose not to believe it, that's fine. But to start with the shunning someone, um, let me just start at the beginning. Many of you have read Crisis of Conscience, and as I was reading Crisis of Conscience, I came to page 47. A matter not among those just mentioned, but which brought considerable discussion, involved a witness couple in California. Someone had seen in their bedroom certain literature and photographs dealing with unusual sex practices. I do not recall that we learned just how or why the witness individual reporting this happened to have access to the couple's bedroom. When I read this, I screamed at the book, "I was snooping!" I think I was 12 or 13 years old, and I don't know if this is my particular situation. It could be just a big fat coincidence. However, it freaked me out. I grew up in California. And there's a scan of the letter in there as well with the congregation blacked out except for the first letter, which is S. I grew up in the Sweetwater congregation in California. And so it could be a coincidence, but yeah, it freaked me out because that was a case that I was involved in. Like I said, I was 12 or 13 years old. I was babysitting. The kids were in bed, and I was snooping. And I came across some very risque, like hardcore stuff. And I was an innocent, sheltered little kid, and it freaked me out. It absolutely freaked me out. And I went home and told my parents I didn't want to babysit for them anymore. And of course, the pressure started. Why? What happened? Tell me. I finally caved and told them what I had found. And that couple ended up getting disfellowshipped. And so when they started making the steps to get reinstated, I couldn't look at them, not because of shunning, but I was ashamed of myself. It was my fault because I was the one snooping. I never meant to get them in trouble, and I never meant for this outcome, and I felt like their whole situation was entirely my fault, and I was too ashamed to look at them. And so it's not actually shunning per se, but it was an awkward situation for me. Even now, it really hurts me because they were a nice couple, and it was my fault, and that's how I felt about it. It was hard. And anyway, at 14, if you've watched my videos, at 14, you know that I got put on public reproof and announced from the stage for not getting baptized, and that's when my shunning started. And it was one of those... The way I look at it is I don't think they knew what to do with me kind of thing because I wasn't disfellowshipped, I wasn't baptized. And so it was kind of that gray area. It's like, do we shun her or do we not shun her? And so there were a handful of the sweeter sisters, and they did try to encourage me and take me out in service, take me to lunch and that kind of thing. But for the rest of the congregation, even if they were making eye contact or saying hello, it was very uncomfortable. And then there were some who wouldn't, interact with me at all. And I was I was like a little puppy that keeps getting kicked under the table. And so I'm being kicked under the table and hurt. And then somebody would throw a table scrap of affection my way, and I would eat it up like the greedy little puppy, so happy for some affection, and then they'd go back to kicking me under the table. And that was my life, pretty much. A few years later, the hardest part for me with the shunning was most of the shunning and that coldness and, all of that interaction and lack of interaction that I got was mostly inside the walls of the Kingdom Hall. There was one girl in particular. She went to my high school. I was a freshman, and I think she was a junior or a year ahead of me or something like that. Anyway, she made it difficult because I saw her at school, and she would deliberately treat me like I was gum on her shoe, and she would make a big scene about treating me badly. And it was difficult because it was hard because people would see this, behavior, and I would, of course, cower, so I looked like a big old chicken, and it was just really difficult. Later, as I started to rebel, and I started doing things that got me my second judicial committee, and she was the one that caught me smoking. And the look of pure joy on her face when she saw me with that cigarette in my hand, I'll never forget that look. She was absolutely thrilled to be able to go running to the elders and turning me in. And yeah, she was a trip. There was another young guy in my high school as well. I talk in a video about how he gave me a ride home. And he was, we weren't friends, but he never, so he didn't go out of his way to be friendly with me, but he never went out of his way to be rude to me either. And I appreciated that. And so he was kind of a nice guy. But yeah, after I got announced as bad association, it got even worse. But again, it was like wishy-washy whenever they felt like it, which was most of the time. But then on the off times, they'd be nice. And again, I was like that starving puppy that was just so happy to have whatever table scraps that they happened to throw my way. It's embarrassing to me now how needy I was for attention. But, it was what it was. I did the best I could back then. But like after I got married, they really looked down on me after that. They looked down on him. Now I can see with good reason, but I was treated even worse. And then I got pregnant, and all of a sudden I'm everybody's fascinated with my pregnancy, and then the baby comes and they throw me a baby shower, and then shortly after that I'm dirt again. And so it was really a back and forth roller coaster of emotion, of affection and attention being given and taken, given and taken, given and taken. And that continued even after my divorce when I moved to Texas. Now, my family in Texas, my mother lives in Texas, my uncle, extended family, cousins, everybody is a witness in there. And I didn't get the full-blown shunning. They just I didn't get invited, and which was fine with me because I was not in a good place and didn't really want to be around them. And then my mother was back and forth, back and forth. It was like, she missed me or something, and then all of a sudden she wanted to be back in my life, and then she'd realize, what was going on, and she'd be gone for months or years at a time, and then she'd come back because she'd miss me, and I'd get a week of attention, and gone for a couple of years, and so it was back and forth with that as well, and now I live on the East Coast, and I didn't know any witnesses here, and right now there are 3 witnesses that know me by face and name, and I haven't run into any of them to see how they will treat me. But again, it's that weird situation. I'm not disfellowshipped. I did tell them I will be speaking out, so they know I'm an apostate. And I don't know if they've stumbled across my videos or not, but I haven't run into them. And I think about Stepford Escapee a lot, and how nice it is that you can just go wherever you want to and not have to worry about running into a Jehovah's Witness every time you turn around. The only interaction I really have with Jehovah's Witnesses is I do flip the bird when I drive by Kingdom Hall. Cracks my husband up every time I do it. But, it's just the way it is. But anyway, that's kind of my experience on shunning. And I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.